We're ignoring lab 3 for now. We're ignoring lab 3 for now. Lab 2, coming back to this. Extracted folder. Conversions. We're going to do that next. Okay.
ガッツみたいな近接タイプかと思ってたが。
マリだ。
分かってる。ファラウェイチア。
邪魔。雑魚ども。
おお、吹き飛ばしか。ナイスだ、嘘モルだ。シャドウをつけ。一気に攻め込む。そうだな。強化したてのエンパイア B ツイン回4。お前らで威力を試してみるか。強化によって解読の風率が上昇している。こいつら程度なら速攻で肉体を破壊できるな。
ますます気持ち悪いですわ。
いいから撃てエブル。今なら大ダメージだ。
マジスレッチ。やりましたですわ。
Okay. Reload it is. And we're never doing quads again.
クールの効果でリキャストが早い。早速恩恵受けてるじゃねえか。スキル使い放題だぜ。にしてもどんだけ湧いてくるんだ巨人ゾンビ。
全然減らないですわ。
レフト向かって左2体。お前ら。いや
こっちの方が的が多くて楽しそう。
海賊船の敵は片付けたのか。まだ少し残ってたけど、あの人たち十分強いし、あとは任せても大丈夫だと思う。それに NPC はこっちに戦闘を任せるみたいだ。そういうシナリオか。僕は上の方からサポートするよ。とりあえず防御系の幕かけようか。いや悪い、俺そういうの大体レジストされる。ああ、そういう。
また増えた。
無限脇を疑いたくなる数だな。危ない。大丈夫2人とも。ああ、分かりやすくボスっぽいモンスターが出てきやがった。
such a cunt move. Why are you going to spawn me on the other side of the map? Let me fucking kill him. Really? Another common? You think that's what I wanted? Stay alive, bro. God, dude, you had one job. Fucking cunt. Come on. Get the fuck out.
Right here, we have a static, so no object reference required, void, no return, line being the name or the identifier of the method, and no parameterless. And all this method does is it's going to output a bunch of equal signs in the form of a line so we can separate our output, basically for readability. So again, static void line, void, no return, so we don't have a return statement inside of the scope, and all we're doing is outputting a bunch of equals. You can do underscore dashes, doesn't matter. If you are following along with the example, the purpose of this method is to separate output. So we can come down to where we know output is, and at the end of it, a line. After rebuilding and running, we can see that we have our separator or our line method running by it separating all of the output. Another static void method we could do is message. So now, if we wanted to output something and have it be separated via lines, notice I'm calling the line method inside of the message method. So we have line, and then see out for our string parameter message, and another line. So when I go to call that, what it's going to look like is simply the message, and then the call to message, and we can see line, the string that I wrote, and then another line.
What time is this? 1:12?
So we can kind of see in a very small example the concept of dry, where I'm not going to bother counting out how many times or how many equal signs there are here. Just note that we have typed significantly less already, and this is just a one-line method. So instead of, I'm just going to guesstimate like 30 characters there. Anytime that we call line, it's 7 characters, including the semicolon, so significantly less typing or holding down a key. All right, so we've seen int methods, we've seen void methods. Before I go into classes, I'm going to make a method for a couple other types. Types. We can make a method for all types, including programmer defined types, classes, E7. So, so far we have int and void. And I'm going to move this around. Be under the sum above, under the voids as well.
Static void.
So we're going to say static string reading. And it has a string type, so a string must be returned. So for this example, I think we're just going to do return hello. If we wanted to overload it, we could have a parameter, a single parameter, doesn't matter how many we have because our initial one has 0, and then we're just going to be returning a message. So before I call these two, I'm going to put notes on everything that doesn't have notes yet. So we're going to start with message. Question from online, what do you mean by no object reference? I will show that here in just a moment.
Then we just call a message right there. Okay. I'm understanding slowly. This is what I missed.
So
this is why I was struggling with Lab 2.
We can then call reading and then the overloaded reading as well. And after that, I'm going to put some more comments down here and possibly note some stuff. So we're going to do called reading. And then overload reading.
The overloaded reading only has 1 and not 3 in the parameter list, I guess.
Okay, so now we're going to rebuild and then run, and we'll be able to see hello world and hello user at the bottom. it's not displaying from reading or from overload reading, so we're going to have to go back up here, look at exactly what I did. I did it as returns, not as cout statements. So what we've got to do here is put it inside of a cout and see if it works.
Cout message.
So now we can see the output from both reading and the overload reading at the very bottom. So now for the online question of what do I mean by no object reference? To do that, to show what I mean by that, we're going to have to create a class. This again is going to be day 7 to 8 material, so you don't really need to know it for lab 3. It's just a good thing to understand why static is being used when other methods may not be static in of themselves. Again, this section I'm going to make a big note of it. Okay, so what I have here is I have a very small class called example. We have the public keyword, so anything above it's going to be private. We don't have anything above it, but everything below it is going to be accessible outside of this class. So the next thing is we're going to have a specialized method called example that shares the name of the class. It's called a constructor. Again, we don't really need to know this. It just has to be there for what we're doing. I'm going to move this comment around so it looks neater.
An object reference? You're talking about like a variable? You mean that as an object
I'm going
reference?
to rebuild. And it's yelling at me because of class. It's expecting a semicolon somewhere.
See, I thought it was going to go after...
I'm going to clean it, rebuild it. And then... So again, we have class example. We have a specialized method that's going to be required for when we actually go to create an object from this class. And then we have our method void some method. Note that it is not static, and also note how we actually call the method. So again, the class is called example. A note right here is this is an example of a programmer defined type. Up. And then we're going to scroll all the way back down to the bottom where we are putting our calls.
Defined type.
To create an object of a class is class name and then object name. The object name can be anything you want, just like a regular identifier. So our class name is example, and I'm going to call it my example. So kind of like just creating an integer, a string, a double, a bool, doesn't matter. So our type is example, our identifier is my example. Now when I run this, the very last line is it's going to say example object made. And that's because of the specialty method. That method gets called when we create a object. Now, for the actual question of the difference between static and non-static is, we can look at all of these methods that we've called so far, and even things like string to int that get called off of the standard library. Now we can write my example dot some method, and that is the difference between requiring an object, so it's not static, to if we scroll up and look at line or greeting, note that we don't have a library, we're not calling off an object. So greeting and line are static methods, the some method is non-static. Now we can see the hello world being generated from the some method from the example class.
Oh.
And we can just add some more onto that, so we can actually see where it's coming from. Question online for Lab 3 on Test 10. Without seeing your actual code, my best advice would be pay attention to the capitalization of everything and how everything is spelled. That is a common mistake with Test 3, or I'm sorry, Lab 3 for the methods that require helper methods. We have any questions on creating a method, the signature kind of a method, void versus non-void, overloading, static versus non-static?
Okay, so my teammates are stupid as shit. Back to squads. They rat more in fucking duos. I'd rather just go full on die. Can't stand cowards shooting me in the back.
All right. One of the last few things for the live demo is to talk about top-down code execution and how it actually jumps around. So if we go to run the application, and we put it side by side with the code as best as possible, without actually making things more. We can scroll all the way to the top of the main, which is the entry point of any program that we work on. So the first executed line inside of main is the welcome to day 3. After that, we get the hello worlds and the old values. But you're going to note that when I actually start scrolling, they're not going to be the next actual lines that get executed. So again, the welcome to day 3, the first thing that we see on the screen, first line that actually gets executed. We scroll down, we have all these different variables that we make and assign, and we initialize other variables. We're not seeing them because we're not outputting them. Next, we create hello world, and we do a concatenation example, and that's where we see both of these hello worlds. If we can continue down to the first line call, what happens here is we see it obviously on screen in the output, but if we scroll up, because line is declared up here, it jumps to the declaration of the method, does everything from the beginning of scope to the end of scope, and then it jumps back down to wherever it was called, in this case, right here, and then it continues going top down. So we have our cast to int and contains the cast bar. We then do the cout for the old value and the new value. We do the reverse. We go from int to car. We output the old value and the new value, and we call line method again, where it jumps to where line was declared, does everything in its scope, and then jumps back down. And we can see the convert this example, the string to int example, and then where we actually call sum. So when we have int stored return equaling sum, this calls the sum method, so it's going to jump all the way to the top, find wherever sum was declared right here, do everything in its scope from beginning to close, and then it jumps back down to wherever that sum was called, and it continues on down. Do you have any questions on top-down execution? Because this is how most compiled languages operate. If no questions, go ahead and take a 10. Be back at 3:11. I'm going to pause the recording, and then we can start looking at lab 3 stuff. Okay. So a few things that I did while we were on break is I moved some of the content text around just to make a little bit more sense for organization. Otherwise, what I did is I'd forgotten to put my contact methods in lecture 1, although they are in announcements in all of my sections. So if you see me as your section instructor, you should already have this. I've been putting my Discord handle into every lecture chat, but if you have questions and you're not in my section, email and Discord are going to be the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Now, there was a question during break, and I was intending on doing part of what was asked. So I was intending on making a method call with arguments that weren't literal values like what we've been doing, but with variables, and there was a question to see one with user input as well. And then I looked it up also while on break, semicolon. This was something weird happening with my machine. Either I was typing too fast or too slow, or I just had not rebuilt the project. So at the end of the sum methods, there were semicolons. I removed them, so and it should not cause any issues. So going into a couple examples before lab 3, could you elaborate on that for me? Mallory?
Jesus Christ. Huh? Do we have a weapon? We do. What? My shot went through him!
I was just watching a video just to like go over some stuff. You know, they had it in the beginning, like just print. They put it in print before you put the static void. Is that like just to like make sure like I guess like the code is complete and that stuff, or is just like showing like is it a debugging thing? Kind of like that. Yeah, yeah. Or I saw like in the beginning like you put print before you put then you put the static void or static or not static method. So you're talking like kind of up here where I have the class where I have public. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes they put it in print too. So public is generally, at least for this example and most of PG1, public is only going to be used in classes. So when we have methods outside of the main, outside of the class, like we do a sum, the overloaded sum, line, method, etc., we don't really need public because we're only working in one file. If we were working in multiple files, these methods would probably end up being in their own class, and then we would be utilizing the class across the different.
It'd be nice if this would stop
Line
restarting.
Is cleared up, is asked, so
Oh, from behind, brother. No way, dude. It was only 83. Of course, the rest of my team died because they were trash. Thanks for ruining my game again. God. Why do I have to have dumb fucking teammates every time? Stop killing our people, bro. Stop throwing us. Stop throwing our match. Like, God, dude. I have these dumbass fucking children on our team every time. God, dude. Fucking respond right.
like kind of up here where I have the class where I have.
Yeah. Sometimes they put it in print too.
So public is generally, at least for this example and most of PG1, public is only going to be used in classes. So when we have methods outside of the main, outside of the class, like we do a sum, the overloaded sum, line, message, etc., we don't really need public because we're only working in one file.
Okay.
If we were working in multiple files, these methods would probably end up being in their own class, and then we would be utilizing that class across the different files. Okay. So we're going to create two new ints. And then captured or stored return, what did I call it? Stored? Yeah. Sum of num1 and num2. And then we can see out and then we have an example of using int variables instead of int literals for arguments.
variables and not in literals. Use some method called. Okay, now for user input example.
Now for the user input example, we're going to prompt the user for a number, capture and store and convert. Prompt the user for another number, capture, store, and convert. Then call sum and use the user input numbers. So we have the output of please input a whole number between 1 and 10. We're not intentionally validating. We're not quite there at the validation step yet. That's like week 2 type of stuff. So day 4, day 5, day 6 type of stuff. So we're just doing it for the example and the easy math. Now we need to capture, store, and convert to the first number. So we're going to have a string user input. Equal an empty string. We're going to have int user num1 equals 0. We're going to allow the user to type in with a cin statement into user input. And then we're going to assign user num1 the string to int method, passing in user input. And then we're going to do that all over again. We could copy and paste, but I'm going to change the output a little bit. So question from online is why do we put the equals 0? We do that because we're just initializing a defaulted value. It could be any value that you really want as long as it's a legal value for the type. So I could have it be 100 and it would be perfectly fine. It's just we're providing some default value because sometimes when we create a variable and we use it or we're intending on using it after having a user assign a value or programmatically assign it a value, occasionally, depending on the situation, the compiler will yell at you either for a syntax error or a runtime error, basically telling you, hey, you're using something that doesn't have a value, even though you are later on. So I just generally provide a default.
Okay, so I took my time on that one because I wanted to understand it more. It looks like I'm dying because I'm still stuck in the storm, so I'm going to heal up real quick. I'm going to get out of the storm by coming through this way, doing this, doing this, and then doing this, and then doing this, and doing this, and doing that, and doing this, and doing this, and then doing this, and doing that, and doing this, and doing pop, and doing that, and then doing this, doing that, and doing this, and doing that. Hope you don't feel pressed. ha ha. He shot me through the door. The door was blocking me, bro. What is that?
Default value to variables, I mean. And then, but user input will change it still. So yes, so our process is we prompt the user for a whole number between 1 and 10. We set up a string that will store their input. We set up an int that will store their converted input. We then accept their input using the cin statement and inserting it into, or extracting from the console and placing inside of user input. And then we have user num1 equals string to int method passing in user input. So this line right here will force the conversion of whatever was typed and store it inside of user num1. Same deal with user num2 and user input in here. And then after that, we are going to call sum again. And we're going to say user num1 and user num2. Reason we got the errors, I forgot the semicolon on the line above. We're going to build and run. So we see all of this. We're at the please input a whole number between 1 and 10. I'm going to press 1. And then please enter another whole number between 1 and 10. I'm going to say 4. And I actually didn't put an output line for the stored return, so that's why we didn't see it. After adding in the output, rebuilding, and running, we're going to use the same values, 1, 4, and we can see the stored return of 5. We could also shorten this down a lot. So this is the long way of doing this. So the shortened way, after we add some lines,
There's no point for me to go to lab 3 if I can't get past lab 2.
I'm going to prompt the user and then store it and then run sum. So cout, enter a whole number. User input. User num1. No, we actually don't need to do that. So we store it right on that line. And then we can do this again. We're going to end up needing another variable for this.
Stoy. Sum is referring to the class or the method. You're referring to the method sum, standard store user input. The first one, comma, standard stoy, user input 2. Okay.
So we can see kind of how different a line count this is. So if we go to the beginning of this, and granted a lot of it's inflated with notes, but we have the prompt, the string that we already made, an int that we made, the send statement, the conversion statement, and then asking for another number, creating another variable, accepting the user input, converting the user input, and then running sum. We cut down by at least 2 lines if we don't take into account the notes, if we make the conversions happen inside of the call to sum. So right here, we're nesting method calls. We have sum as the most parent method call, and inside of the sum argument list, or where we would place our values, we then place string to int user input, comma string to int user input 2. So how this line breaks down is it's going to do the internal methods first, get the actual values, and then it's going to add them together. So place that note before we run it. So after we run, we're going to see our first user input example. So we'll do 1 and 4 again. And then need to change the grammar on that, but enter a whole number. We'll say 2 and 5. And we get the same deal. Returned, third return being 7. So we can use user input for the method calls. Do you have any questions on that? So a question from online is, person did not see me use the plus sign. Does sum auto do that? No, it does not automatically do that. That's what we wrote the sum methods for. So that's something that we actually wrote. So right here we have sum, int number 1, int number 2. We have our placeholder variable int result. Result equals number 1 plus number 2, and then returning result. Same thing with the overloaded version.
Okay.
Okay, if there is no questions on the live demo, we can then go take a look at Lab 3. So we have the overview with an overview video. I recommend reading and watching it. We have the objectives and outcomes. Upon completion of the assignment, you should analyze various programming scenarios to identify opportunities for method implementation, ensuring that code remains dry and minimizing repetition. Distinguish between method parameters and arguments, demonstrating their understanding of how data is passed to methods. And then create methods that return specific values on their input parameters. So we can download the lab right here under resources or the downloads. It should default to your downloads folder, as shown like mine. Instructions, download and extract the provided zip file, and then find the instructions for the actual project inside of the project itself. Open the student work.h file and complete the test functions by reading provided instructions for each one. While working, debugging on the lab to see how many test runs pass or fail. Ideally, you want all test runs to pass to get the maximum amount of points. Your grade is shown at the bottom whenever you run. Caveat to that, is that to get points for a test method itself, it's a binary. You either have all 5 passes, any amount of fails results as a 0 for that section. So if we look at rubric, if we look at test 1 and we're looking at the output of test 1, if you have all 5, you're going to get the 10% for that test method. However, if one of them says fail, it is a binary, it goes from 10 to 0. So you want to make sure that everything is working prior to returning. On top.
Great. Yo, could you move? Thanks. Haha, later. Fucking way, bro. Come on and work before I break you.
On top of that, just a reminder that if you are in the PG1 Discord, you can see the PG1 channels. There is an FAQ reminder and cheat sheet for certain labs. So if you're not in the PG1 channel, send me a message on Discord, and my username is at the top of the demo project. We can get that sorted out for you. Deductions is 100 point deduction if anything is violating the course policy for external materials. On top of make sure that the program compiles and runs. If there's a syntax error that provides can't compile essentially, so if there's a syntax error, it will not compile. It will result in a 0. So be vigilant in what you're uploading and making sure that it works. If you do have an error on like say one part of the lab, but the rest of the lab is working perfectly, I would suggest commenting out the error so you get some points. So keeping all that in mind, we're gonna go back to where we downloaded. So pop back over to downloads. If you're on Windows 11, which all of you should be, it's going to be a right-click extract. There's a handful of you on Mac, so if you are braving the Visual Studio Code version of doing this, you're just going to double-click the archive folder and it will extract. If you are running the Windows 11 emulation via Parallels, you're going to be following the same demos behind here. So once you click extract, you are going to get the extraction wizard. You're going to see the destination of where your zip file is. That is where it's going to place the extracted folder. You do not have to mess with this if you don't want to. After you do that, you can, if you have your PG1 or FS folder, you can move things around should you wish. However, I'm just going to be working on the downloads folder. So we're going to open up the extracted folder, make sure it doesn't have the zipper or the type of compressed, so the extracted. And we're going to be looking for the SLN that we're going to open. If the SLN gives you any amount of error when you open it, after you've extracted it, making sure you've extracted it, what you can then do is go deeper in the lab3 method folder and look for the .vcx project. You can open up this as well. It's effectively the same thing as the solution. And again, if you do not see content on your screen immediately, don't panic. And assuming we also don't have the Solution Explorer open, we're going to go to View, Solution Explorer, we're going to click the arrow, and then look for student to do, and then student work.h, the thing that the FSO instructions told us to look for and work in. Afterwards, we're going to note that the file is pretty long. There is a bunch of comments that you need to read before starting. So basically go through that. But once you are done reading all the comments, all the to-dos, from start to finish, we're going to take a look at a few tests and how they're structured now because they're a little bit more complicated opposed to Lab 2, because in Lab 2 you're utilizing like 3 data levels of float. In this case, we're actually having you write some equations, some formulas, and some other methods, I believe test 6 and below. So test 1 says it's going to be years to days, and you're going to convert the years into days, essentially. The parameter that we provide you is into years, so it's going to contextually be a number of years that we provide you. Your job is to then go and find the number of days that many years would equate. So in this example input, years has a value of 5, the expected output would be 1,805 days. Test 2 is going to be division. You're going to divide number 1 by number 2 and return the result. Kind of like what we did with the sum method, except division. Test 3, very similar to test 2, but instead of getting the quotient, you're going to get the remainder. So keep in mind, the / is division, the percent sign is modulus, so it'll still be division, but the difference is the slash will get you the quotient, the percent sign will get you the remainder. Test 4 is going to be square root and converting. So we're telling you to find the square root of the input value using the square root method and return the result converted into a float using a cast. So the only thing that we have not seen so far is square root. So if I pop over here to the demo,
Square root 158.
so we just simply call the square root method like we do student int, sum, reading, line, etc. Provide a value. And then we have 2 user input examples, or 3 maybe, to go through before we see that line. And we can see the square root of 9 is 3. So we have an example of square root here. And if we go back over to lab 3, so still looking at test 4, we're going to find the square root of the input value using the square root method and return the result converted into a float using a cast. So we have seen casting before. Pop back over to the example. And I'm using ints and cars, but you can cast just get the different types like we see in lecture 2. So if you need a refresher on that, I would recommend looking at lecture 2 tutorial. There's also some references on the square root method here. And also just take note that the return type of test 4 is float. The parameter list is a input double, or double input. So you're going to find the square root of the given input and then cast that to a float and return that value. Test 5, very similar. We're going to raise whatever to a power. So raise a number to a power using the cow method and return the result. There are 2 parameters that we give you. So int number, the number that is going to be raised to power. And as an example of that,
How is the square root a double?
so basically saying 2 to the 5th.
God damn it.
And then after successfully rerunning, we can see that following. Example of 2 raised to the 5th power being 32. Popping back over to lab 3. So after test 5 is another section of very important notes that you should have already read, but refamiliarize yourself once you get to that point. From this point on, you'll need to create your own methods. See the above methods as an example, or the methods demo as well. Once the method has been created, you will then need to call the method and the related test method. If you do not so, you will not receive full credit for the lab. Do not alter any parts of the file, any other parts of the file, as this could cause an unexpected output and would be considered academic dishonesty. So there's a couple examples. So we have a bunch of instructions for test 6. And then the actual test 6 method. What the warning was basically saying is do not alter the structure or the declaration of the given test methods or the given project. Just add the code that you need to do to solve the problem, essentially. So it's not like changing the parameters, changing the method name, just simply utilizing what is provided and providing your own solution. So looking at actually test 6, there's 2 parts to it. There's going to be 2 parts to the remainder of the test methods for this lab. So the first part of test 6 is concatenation. You're going to create a method called concat. Be aware that it needs to be named the same, and the capitalization also needs to match. So capital C concat, and then return all of the 3 parameters combined to form a question. So this part is you're going to be creating a method called concat. You know that it's going to have 3 parameters that happen to be strings. The names of those parameters, they don't matter. You can name them whatever you want as long as they fit into the naming structure of an identifier. So no keywords, no numbers at the start, no spaces, etc. We also note that the method is going to return a string. So the string or the method is going to be type string as well. As example input, that will be basically randomly generated by our backend.
I'm going to pause this real quick. Fucking stop. Oh my god. Oh my god. No. 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 What? Oh my god. Mind your business, bitch. Dude, that's not what I selected. No, that's not what I wanted. God damn. Dude, I don't want to open it. I just want to drag it. Fuck. Stop giving me difficulties. This is stupid. Copy. Dude, stop. Just copy. Is that? Oh, right. Let's go to show more options. Oh my god. Come here. Come here. Properties. No. Here. Compress to. Zip file. Compressed. Whatever.
Code. As an example, it's going to be hey with a comma, what's up, man. And then the expected output is going to be a full sentence or question with hey, what's up, man. Also note that there are no spaces inside of the given input. Also note there's no question mark in the given input. So you'll more likely have to concatenate those things in. So after you create concat, you are basically going to come over to test 6 part 2. We're going to call the method from test 6 part 1, so the concat method, and you're going to pass in the given parameters here, and then return whatever gets returned from concat. Same deal for test 7. Part 1, part 2 is going to be true for the rest of the lab, so all the way down to test 10. So just make sure that you note the method that it's asking you to make, note the parameters and the return of that method. That return is going to denote the type of your method. So test 7, the convert method will have a float type because it returns a float. And then same deal as in the test 6 part 2. Test 7 part 2 is just going to have you call that method within test 7 and return the value. Same deal with test 8, test 9. Test 10, though, is where we have an overloading example. So test 10, part 1, here we go, division overload. So we're going to create an overload for test 2. So we're going to pop up over to test 2, where we're dividing number 1 by number 2 and returning the result. So we're going to pop back on to test 10 and return the, whatever that value happens to be at the end. And then in test 10 part 2, you're going to call that overloaded test 2 and pass in the given parameters for test 10 into that overloaded test 2 call. We have any questions?
I hate my life. I couldn't struggle anymore. Why is this like this? Oh my god, not this again. Dude, stop with this. Thank you. From where? Let me out! Let me...
Online free. What's up? Okay, so that's a great question, and the answer is no, I have not. So what we can do there is the goal is to return another method. So what I'll do here is we'll go to the bottom of all of our methods before the main, and we're going to create another method, static, let's say double, and then
Static double.
we'll call it return example. And we're going to say int x, int y.
I thought you couldn't return statics. Where was that
Yeah.
void?
So if we think about how like equations break down in algebra, like if we have some like crazy algebra statement, we're breaking down simpler values.
Right.
Effectively, what we're doing here is we're saying return the call of sum x and y. So what happens is before the return statement actually finishes, sum has to finish. So in this case, if we use numeric values for x and y like 2 and 2, it's going to break down into 4. Effectively, what that line would then say is return 4. So sum finishes first. It will complete the calculation, and then whatever the return value of sum happens to be is what will be returned via return example method. And we can see that in a call down here. Let's see, stored return. Oh, I was double something. So double my stored return equals return example, and we're going to say 3 and 5. And then C out my stored return. That's my stored return variable. And the last line being my stored return. So how that runs is, before we get the output of the actual value, we make a double called my stored return. We assign it the call of return example, passing in the arguments of 3 and 5. Conversely, 3 goes into
I'll
x,
never
5
trust
goes into
people
y.
again.
So
I'll
we
never
jump up
trust
to the actual
society again
declaration,
after the
where
life
we're
I've
put it.
lived.
So int x, int y, so 3 and 5. So we
I'll
have
never
x,
trust
y
anyone
here.
again.
We then have the line return sum. So we know that sum has to finish executing before the return, the actual return happens for this method. So we
There's
then
just
pop up
people
over to
around me, and
sum
some of them
declaration,
are pissing
knowing
me
that
the
we
fuck
called
off.
it with 3 and 5. So x has 3, y has 5.
Right now,
equals
it's
sum.
my
We use
dumbass
the parameters of the
instructor
return example as arguments for
and
the
the
sum
stupid
method. So
fucking
again,
system they set
5,
up for not
we pop
helping.
up to wherever sum was declared.
You're
So
leaving
x
me
or
in the
3
fucking
is
dark
number 1.
here.
5 or y is now number 2.
I'm taking
then
lower
set
grade
our
because they
function
won't
variable
fucking
result.
help.
Number 1, so 3, plus number 2,
Like-
5, so result is number 8, return result. So when this return executes, we pop back down to the return example. Sum generates the return value of 8 in this example because we use 3 and 5 as our literals. This effectively breaks down to return 8, which if we scroll all the way to the bottom to where we called it, this call breaks down into numeric 8, which is stored in my stored return and displayed right there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions? What's up? The first test. So test 1 is years to days. You're going to convert the given integer years into a number of days. So effectively, we have to think of how many days are in a year. And if I say year is 1, what kind of equation do you have to run to get the number of days? If I say years is 5, as like this example input 5, the expected output is 1,825 days. So we give you int test 1 with one parameter int years. So this number basically represents the number of years. It's your job to convert it into days. And then you're going to return whatever int you use, and it should be in a number of days. Yeah, it's inferred that when we ask for an overloading, it means that you're using the same identifier for a method, you're just providing a different return type or a different parameter list or combination of both. So because it says overload for test 2, it's saying name of test 2. Yeah. Hold on. Yep. It can be wherever you want, generally. what I recommend, and for ease of reading yourself, and for grading whoever ends up grading your assignments. So if you're in my section on campus, it's going to be me. General rule of thumb is these are separated in a way to where, like, we have the instructions for part 1 of test 10 for the overload. I would place it right there. And then for the second part of test 10, it's under already the instructions for test 10 part 2. So that is how I would recommend going about tackling the labs, is to do, and then your code, and then to do, and then your code. Right, if there are no other questions, you all are free to head out, grab some lunch, dinner, take a break. Lab for campus is going to be 5:30 for online students. Look for the announcement on the Discord channel. I will remain here for like 5-10 minutes if there's any other questions, and I'll be getting this uploaded to Discord here in just a moment. So the examples are going to be literal values, but the values that actually are made are randomly generated. So you don't have to account for like test 6 to hey, what's happening? It could be 3 different phrases that make a coherent sentence. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
So ideally as a, so how you
Why don't you mind your business, you fat fuck? Yo, where's my team at? Guys, what are y'all doing? No fucking max. How do you expect me to fucking do it? Like, you can't expect me to fucking play like y'all. Shit. Is it done? Like, I don't even know where to start. Great.
雑魚敵の強さから見て今さら苦戦するような相手じゃないだろう。海に落としても上がってきやがる。船長、外は危険だ。早く中に。やだ。
I give up. I don't give a fuck no more. I don't care. I don't care what happens. I'll just kill myself if it doesn't work out. People didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit soon enough.
ドラゴンのスーパーエブルキャノンを得得したお前なら楽勝だ。ゴー！上からの援護頼んだぜ。わかった。さてと、それじゃあ暴れさせてもらうか。渡月に続き進化によって生まれ変わった故障の探検改めデュクスラン初陣だ。行くぞ。
Jesus Christ. Please load longer. Please waste my fucking time like I need that.
渡月に続き進化によって生まれ変わった故障の探検改めデュクスラン初陣だ。行くぞ。特徴の故障の探検を通常強化ではなくリーラックによってさらにビット特化へと進化させ英傑の振るうそれに劣らない強き刃となった両刃の片手剣。さあ行くぞデュクスラム。ただ頑丈なだけでなくクリティカル値やビット現象を無効にすることもできる。こいつがあれば長時間戦闘も耐えられるぞ。お前が相手ならそう時間はかからなそうだけど。にしてもなんか妙だ。ユニークシナリオのボス戦にしては少し簡単すぎる気がしないか。もしかしてまだこいつ以上のボスが控えてる。ありえる。だけどこの人数で来たから大量の巨人をさばけてるってところもあるし、ソロでなければこんなものなのかな。
僕様がパパの敵を撃ってやる。
え？は？なんでお前こっちに？洗 せるんじゃなかったの？
奥様だって戦えるんだ。
Great. Fucking great. Fucking great. Fucking great. My last goddamn brain cells. Oh my god. My college is taking a hit because I'm in pain and sick and stressed. I'm burning up. You know what? I know what I'm gonna do. Okay. Okay. Alright. I know what I'm gonna do. Alright, bet. I think I know how to get past lab 2. It's just a little bit of struggle, pain, and getting over it, and stress. Trying to calm down and think and understand. Just need to breathe. Eat and drink. And then I need to clearly work on test 4, because test 3 is fine. Test 3 doesn't seem to be an issue, I don't think. Okay. Alright. We're going to open up lab 2. We're going to delete. I'm going to delete this one, and we're going to delete those copies. We're going to come to lab 2. We're going to open this up again. Open up conversions. Open up lab 2. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this, because I can't. Come on. Come on. Essential libraries or references. I don't know what. String reference. String reference. Output. Still don't know. stay integer variable. Block of code for test 1. Block of code for test 1. Main code area for test 1. Okay, so std string test 1 equals strings, and that go cd story test 1 semicolon. Build, rebuild solution. Okay, now I want to make sure it's saved. Copy this. Copy that, come to desktop, come to this PC, come here, call just stop Burnley, put it here. Whatever. Yo, attach the file, damn it. Attach the damn file. Of course. Compress to zip file. Close that. Come here. Come here. Put that there. I can't see it. Oh no.
ステータスのデバフはいかんともしがたいですが、この装備であれば十分戦えるはずです。
Oh.
あれって
誰ですか？
メイシか。一瞬新しいモンスターが湧いたかと思った。助かったぜレイシー。シチューデのおもりは頼んだ。
おもり？奥様も戦うといいって。任せてください。
エブル、俺だ。ベスト。ヘイトが一斉にシチューデに集中している。気を抜くなよ。はい。
わかった。ですわ。
護衛系ミッションってことならのんびりしてられねえ。さっさと勝負を決めるぞ。
すみません。遅れました。私もこちらに参戦します。
今の感覚は一 止まったような。大容量のデータを読み込むときに発生する一瞬のカクつきのような。けど今までシャンフロの読み込みでラグが発生したことなんて一度もなかった。あの巨大なオーバードレスゴーレムの時ですら。シュレとりあえずお前は下がってろ。
ますます荒れてきたでござる。
やばいやばい、大きいな。
とても戦える状況じゃない。
さすがにこれは踏ん張るので精一杯だな。
Start up some Spotify. I'm gonna end up. Oh yeah.
It's just really all that I do. Dark truth, so do lies. You don't realize, lock line, the light outline, make a flat line. Every man for the damn self till we all die outside in the street line. What you see, type perfection.
Hey yourself, black boots, Doc Martens and Ricks too. All music and rap tunes, metal hardcore tracks blow up my headphones and my eardrums. Fuck loving God, I wanna feel one. I get so high that sometimes I get paranoid. Did you hear something? Yeah, cover yourself in Vaseline, then secondly in gasoline. Snort some crushed amphetamines and eat benzodiazepines. Pick a place with families to maximize the casualties. Do not attempt what I'm saying, this is an analogy. They'll put you on a magazine for fucking up so massively. You hate yourself cause you have trouble embracing reality. This life is a duality of love and brutality. I'd rather focus on my salary and counting up my calories. Hate yourself, do drugs, kill yourself, step on a bug, crush his body into the rug. I don't think he's getting up. Do you understand irony? Do you not understand the joke? I'd rather live my life for me than hate myself until I go.
Thoughts about brain and I can think about it. So many chemicals in my head, I can find the balance. You seek acceptance for faces for social status. The internet's just a challenge to drink it by the gallon. Myself, I probably do deserve to rot in hell. Got the few lips screws to drill them all in you. Cause lately don't give a fuck, it's just really all that I do. Dark truth, so do white lies. You don't realize, lock line, the light outline, make a flat line. Every man for the damn self till we all die outside in the street line. What you see? Revenge. Blood dripping like rain. Sticking to your nose ring. Vampire got bitch sniffing cocaine. When I look into your eyes, I can only see pain. Blood shoot shots, so I click it bang bang.
I might chop you. If you wanna run in some top, I might block you. I cannot kick you with you like soccer. I'm like Brock. If I hop on these ones, I'm Onyx, I might rock you. Outstanding in the field like a motherfucking scarecrow. Walk to a thought and only fucking with the bands that I can. Promise God will forgive, but I can. You should watch out for my homies and masks look like
Or alternatively, I could get the bag while you gonna pity armor piercing, sleepy hollow tips, the haunted blicky, blood is sticky, sticking to my bricks. I'm sick of stomping in the faces of my enemies. My spirit gun is popping like a gat, that rat-a-tat. I smoke that cushion till I yak. I get the racks like dry cleaners in the back.
Dark truth, so do white lies. You don't realize, lock line, the light outline, make a flat line. Every man for the damn self till we all die outside in the street line. What you see, type revenge.
Figure out who I roll on. Ain't shit that I told him. 100K been a motor. Buy drinks and I hold him. Money came when I showed him. Give a fuck what I owed him. Say shit that I loaded. Never been where he going. Let's have it back. He said it, we said it back. Fucking relax. Run out of shit like it's track. I ain't in a rap. Nobody me, that's a fact. You the shit for rap. Tell her we know where he at. I'ma do it again, I'ma make it a problem. Say shit when I call him. Want it back when I got him. Yeah, he gotta kill me. Yeah, he gotta hit me whenever I waste. There's no way real me. Yeah, pussy my friends it's dark out. I've been moving hella different, I don't want top, bitch, I wanna check now. One step for the blacklist, you ain't never coming back, bitch. We don't know about your brother, bet we put him under, I ain't even text it. He should've killed in a second, he wanted me dead. Yeah, I kill a bottle whenever it put it in bed. Yeah, he better die for the fuck if he made it in bed. Yeah, I was the back of his weight on the shit of a gang. Made another like it's automatic, I'ma never be the one to go. Yeah, so hit the fucking ground fast, how he brought a gun inside the show. Everybody that you fucking with has been another one that I know. I don't really fuck around with it if the money come too slow. That's ain't shit, make that boy my bitch. I've been sleeping it off, but he can't touch this shit, I got this shit don't stop. Yeah, try to fuck up a cop. I go 30 for 30, I never been pussy, she look at the watch. Yeah, I been fucking with the same shit, spent too long with the same bitch. Suck it dick, cause the play switch out, take shit as I made it. Fuck it, I try to wake up, lay shit to break up. I don't like y'all fake fuck, no shit y'all made up.
That's a vibe. That's my vibe right now, 100%. On God. Can't get it out, man. Can't get it out. It's just stuck in there. Knife. Somehow just appeared in there, sitting there, pecking at me, causing me internal pain, but no blood loss. Suicidal temptation. That's a powerful song. Goodbye.
Just wanna peel off my skin and my dread. Looking like Romeo writes it, that poison now Romeo 10. Talking about rumors, but fuck what he said. I'm gonna bully, go sully his neck. Trust with that word, but I think it's just
Who says negative thoughts can't kill you?
I am so mighty, these forces just come to my aid when I come from inside of my I'm sick in my head, but I'll cry when I'm dead, when I'm reaching my family fed.
Stress.
I can see you jealous, gonna hit him with the tape. I'm just getting stronger with my army on my tape. Warlord, gonna come and set it with the pace. How you gonna hit it when the body got the plate? To the veins, they got aim. That's how you play straight into my aim. Cut up brain, so my thoughts right on the white glass. So strange, your blood. Let you like mud when I break off. Separate straight to the cell like it's psycho. Can't change your voice, to the visceral relation. You can't keep peace, so I just now lock my
I need to see.
down. Don't need a back up. Run that out. No one pass. Hey, wait out. Lost that piece of I lock my fast. Run them down. Don't need a back up. Run that out. No one pass. Hey, wait out. Lost that piece of I.
The definition of punk, according to Google, is a worthless person, often used as a general term of abuse.
Hey,
I'm a motherfucking punk. Let it get fucking drunk. Does that like a mud? Cause I might be out there drunk. Think that I might be nuts. Every time I feel food is a crap from a bitch. You just really wanna slash me. Fuck all the time, get all of the pack. Then fuck off a pack that's tax free.
hey, I just a mask and a vest. Yeah, I rub a belly, we're out with a chef. If any fucking pussy never left, I'ma put him in check with a quip for his chest.
I just had the death, let's book up the meth. I'll pop up few pills, I swear fuck the cow. Run up the south, my young bitch with hey.
You don't own me, yet nevertheless the mic knows me. I'm coming straight for your neck, come now phone me. I live for the red, the flows on me. You wanna go toe to toe? I'm like Brody. Set it with your face into the unholy moly. If you got a plan for pain, then come show me. Not too many homies that help me. Might have to run up on bro with a poke slowly. Pull it with any two fucking girls. You spin and draw like a roly-poly. Then I smoke up and I go to ghosty. Need you to face the fact. Take a step and fucking take it back. Got a motherfucking blade attack. Gotta know me, I've been marching there. Read your face, the black, the blue, the black, the blue, the yeah. I'm sick of fucking sleeping. I'm even you can fucking go. You be dreaming, I'm doing it. I'm trying to do it. Trying to fucking hit it like I tell the fucking winner. Run a little man, running out, young and get out. I drink my soul, chill with my vodka. She call me God, I got it. Should've thought I'd be for you, found out that I'm a motherfucking punk. Let it get fucking drunk. Does that like a mud? Cause I might be out there drunk. Think that I might be nuts. Every time I food is a crap from a bitch. You just really wanna smash me. Fuck all the time, get all of the back. Then fuck off a back that's tax free.
Oi, is that a dirty yank I see? This bitch is a punk. She has the hunting drunk. You are not around my tongue. Put on the man, put it on my chin, I'm put on the bag. I'm in the alley, take a penny for crack. City with a heady, make a little nigga act. Everybody wanna be punk, but it's not for the shit very punk to do something in the past. If we stop huffing off, they make music different than each other's dogs, and we stop breaking everybody's jobs, so they can't say nothing about your cause. And instead of follow when we make the laws, and instead of wallow when we kick a fucking, if we manage that before the ship is sunk, then all you pussy bitches can be called a punk. I wanna let you know that you will never shit, and you will never be able to fit your dick in such a hollow jar. You break it back and you can practice that. Train your style. I'm seeming and meaning, I'm seeming real mean, and I mean it. What I say, nigga, is screaming. I'm sick and I'm dreaming. You swear that you seen them up on the roof screaming. I'm a motherfucking punk. Let me get fucking drunk. Does that like a mud? Cause I might be out there drunk. Think that I might be nuts. Every time I food is a crap from a bitch. You just really wanna smash me. Fuck all the time, get all of the back. Then fuck off a back that's tax free.
Oh, brother. Interesting. Oh, I need to check. Let's go see what everybody's talking about right now. Where's here he is. The Epstein cover-up is unreal. Oh my god, it actually is a cover-up. Oh no. Who knew? Who could have guessed? Yeah, I want my information out. I want to know.
According to the Department of Justice, Jeffrey Epstein was not murdered, and there was no client list. Well, that's convenient.
A new Justice Department memo reveals that the Justice Department has no evidence that convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed powerful people or kept a client list or was murdered in prison. The memo, first reported by Axios, is a sharp turn from the Trump administration's insistence that there was much more to uncover. Even Attorney General...
See, that's what it was, is that they should have never said that. Like, how is it that you said that, but there was nothing to look at? Because they played this up so fucking hard for years.
Pam Bondi pushed that theory while in office. Take a look.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
So it wasn't the files. She was explicitly asked about a list, and she said, it's sitting on my desk. It is referring directly back to the question about a list.
But today...
What? I don't want to take a break.
The White House says she didn't really mean to suggest that the list itself was on her desk.
Okay, great.
She was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the
Which includes his financial records.
Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that.
Joining us now to discuss the
Oh my god.
Who the fuck believes this shit? Who the fuck believes this shit? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, it's semantics. Yeah, it's.
CNN's Evan Perez and Axios' Alex Eisenstadt, who broke the story on Axios.
Yeah.
And Alex, I have to say, I'm with the people that still have questions.
Yeah, I
about
think
this.
a lot of people
I kind
are.
of don't buy the nothing to see here, and I don't know that the Justice Department helped their case. They released this video. Let's show it. It shows no one entered the area surrounding Epstein's cell in the hours before he died. But there's something significant about this videotape. What is it?
Well, here's one thing that some people
There's
on
a
the
minute
internet
missing.
are picking up on, which is that there is about a minute missing between 11:58 p.m. 58 seconds and 12 a.m. the night that Epstein was apparently killed or died. And so
the official story is that he died by suicide. That's what then Trump Attorney General Bill Barr said
So we'll
years ago.
Died. And so now there are, it's going to intensify more conspiracy theories about what happened the night
Absolutely.
of Epstein's death. And of course, you have the DOJ and FBI now, which are trying to extinguish a lot of these conspiracy theories. But that's not happened today online. If you look at the MAGAverse, they're inflamed about this.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I wonder fucking why.
I wonder why.
Offense to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, but they had a hand in igniting some of these conflagrations. I mean, in February, the White House...
Yeah, they never had... You did not have to go so hard about saying that it was going to come out if it wasn't going to come out or you weren't sure about it. So there's there are two outcomes that could have happened.
There's only so many logical paths.
Number one is that they didn't actually know what they were talking about and they were just talking shit. Outcome number two is that they're hiding it. Both of them are awful.
House invited these conservative MAGA influencers to get a first look at the declassified documents related to the Epstein case. Look at that, all those binders. They gave them binders that said Epstein Files
there it
Phase
is.
1. And Evan, at the time...
Apparently, there's only one phase.
Wrote that this is something of a cell phone for the Justice Department. Why?
It's absolutely a cell phone. It is 100% a cell phone.
It absolutely was. Those binders, those documents in those binders, all of that was public for years. And that's what the influencers found out. When they opened it up, they're like, wait a minute, all of this stuff has been out there. And the Justice Department could have helped themselves and perhaps reduce the embarrassment if they had just picked up the phone and talked to some of the prosecutors in New York and some of the FBI agents who had done this case, and they could have told them all of this stuff has been out there. But you know why they didn't do that is because they fired all these people, so they didn't have anybody to talk to.
They could have asked them afterwards too. They could no, that's not it. They did it because it made them look good. I think that's the reason why.
Right? And so, this is something that they have absolutely banned. And
so I agree with the questioning here. Does this make me a liberal or an independent since I voted for Trump?
Can you guys please stop fucking trying to make every decision? Like, you don't have to label yourself. Sometimes, like, it's just, I really wish that...
I wish that they would take the Democrat and the Republican and the Independent and the Green Party and the Libertarian labels off of the voting ballots.
Oh man,
so
he really believes
you
that.
don't have
Can see it in
people
his
that
eyes.
go in there and they just fucking straight ticket vote for a bunch of people.
That's true though. He's not wrong though. He's not wrong at all.
極めて高い。エクストラシナリオに続いてしまうなんて、エムリが連れてきたのは完全に失策だった。そもそもどこなんだここは。海底洞窟にでも引きずり込まれて。いや、というよりこれは海底都市。
build, rebuild solution. Camera build, rebuild solution. Extracted. We're gonna delete that because we're gonna copy this, come here, put it there. That is not what I wanted.
This is the file where all your work should go. Asterisk. Asterisk info about the lab. Asterisk. Asterisk the goal of the first part of the lab. Asterisk is to learn how to write modular code. Asterisk by using the parameters given and performing. Asterisk a task with them. Then, returning the result of. Asterisk that task. Asterisk. Asterisk the goal of the second part of the lab. Asterisk is for you to create methods that you will. Asterisk then use in the related tests. This is to. Asterisk build your understanding of how methods are. Asterisk made, used, and the terminology surrounding. Asterisk them. Future labs and practicals will also. Asterisk expect you to create methods and use them. Asterisk as well. Asterisk. Asterisk additional reminders. In PG1. Asterisk 1. Methods are not permitted to use more than one return statement. Asterisk 2. Please keep in mind the external use policy on FSO and ON. Asterisk Discord to make sure you are not using concepts that are not. Asterisk allowed per policy. Asterisk 3. Usage of AI, LLM, and other policy violations can result in. Asterisk automatic zeros.
だがその前にまずはエムルたちを探さねえと。どこにいるんだエムル
今の声、近くに誰かいるな。何者だ。
こいつらさっきの巨人ゾンビだったのかな。ただのアイテムになっちまった。インベントリアに入んのかな。ほいっと。理由はわからんが、とりあえずこの海底都市の情報が欲しいな。一年淡い青色の風化したような街、その中央にそびえる城。クターニットがいるとしたらあそこだろう。そして戦闘の途中にもかかわらず開始されたユニークシナリオエクスポ。